partner with Texas AgriLife Extension Service, and welcome to dinner tonight. And a special welcome to our special location, Gourmet Gallery in Waco, Texas. They're a great gourmet food store and also carry great specialty food items, and they have this wonderful kitchen that they've allowed us to use today, so we appreciate their hospitality. We're going to start with a very special recipe today. It's called Spinach Quesadillas. Now, many of us have had quesadillas, and traditionally those consist of maybe meat, such as chicken or beef, and cheese that have been grilled. But today we're really focusing on getting more vegetables in our diet. So instead of using meat, we're going to actually use spinach. So let's get started. We're going to start with a tablespoon of oil, and we're going to add that to our skillet, because what we're going to do is we're actually going to saute our spinach to soften that up, kind of wilt it if you would. And we're going to start with baby spinach. Now, you could buy the larger variety, but if you do that, you want to remember that you really want to cut that up a little bit on the cutting board before you put it into the skillet, just so it's not in such large pieces in your quesadilla. But today we're using baby spinach, and of course we know Popeye made spinach famous, and we appreciate that because he really, that cartoon character in the 1920s brought to our attention that spinach is full of iron and especially vitamin A and C. So we're going to go ahead and add that to our skillet. Put this in. Now, this looks like a huge amount of spinach that's going into our skillet, and it is, but you have to remember things like spinach and greens, they really cook down once you start adding the heat to them, if you would. So we want to realize that it's going to fit, and we're not going to be really cooking it a whole lot, just a little bit. We want to make sure we're going to saute around that oil there. And one thing I didn't mention is that with the oil, I'm using vegetable oil today, but you could very easily interchange olive oil if you wanted to. I guess that would be appropriate if you were using olive oil and spinach from Popeye, I don't know. But we're going to saute that around. And it calls for about 1.5 pounds of spinach. Again, this is a recipe that's very adaptable, so if you have a little more or a little less, that is perfectly okay. So we'll continue just to let that wilt there. I'm going to move this out of the way. And while that's finishing heating, I'm going to go ahead and start our next step, and that is going to be with our whole grain tortillas. Now, one of the reasons that we chose the whole grain tortilla today is that we know in today's diet, fiber is very lacking, and especially with our youth. And so this is something not only for adults but kids as well. We can pack a little more fiber into, and so it's really a healthy dish for the entire family. So we're using about an 8-inch tortilla there. We're going to have 2 tortillas. We're going to have a top and a bottom, of course, just your traditional quesadilla. Spinach that in there. And again, lots of vitamin A and vitamin C in this dish. Okay. Keep that going there, keep that heating. And we're going to begin our layers on our quesadilla, and we're going to start with low-fat Monterey Jack cheese. I actually chose to buy the pepper jack cheese, so I want to have a little bit of flavor, a little bit of spice. You can use regular Monterey Jack if you don't want to spice things up a little bit, but I'm going to take it calls for about 1/8 cup of cheese on the tortilla. And this recipe is going to make 4 servings. We have 8 tortillas we're going to work with. We're not going to make them all during this episode, but just to tell you what the recipe calls for. I'm going to take that, and then to that we're going to actually add some salsa. And what I have done is I've taken just a mild salsa. You could actually do a medium or a hot, whatever your taste preference is, but a mild salsa, just a teaspoon or so, just to kind of sprinkle over the cheese and spread that around just to add, again, a little more flavor. And then also we know that tomatoes are high in lycopene, and so that's a great antioxidant to add to our recipe today. So we'll add that to it. And then we're going to top it with some of our spinach. Now again, if you wanted to add chicken to this recipe, you could definitely do that. Take a little of the spinach out that's beginning to wilt there a little bit. Add that on top. Okay. And just again, whatever your preference is, if you would like more or less, that's fine. And then a little more cheese, because we want this to really stick together. So add a little more cheese on top. And we're going to finish it off with another whole grain tortilla. Press that down a little bit. And I'm actually going to change skillets here because we want to grill this as we would any traditional quesadilla. So we want to get that skillet warmed up, and we're just going to put that in. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to grill that for about 3 minutes on each side because we just want to get really a browning effect on each side. And we also want to really melt that cheese down together. It's also a very heart-healthy recipe. This recipe, each quesadilla has about 300 calories, very low in sodium, again, very quick and easy, high in fiber. And, with the spinach in there, as I mentioned earlier, lots of iron, lots of vitamin A and vitamin C. And we really want to make sure that we're adding as many vegetables in our diet as we can. We know that is the one area that research has shown that none of us, adults or kids alike, get enough in our diet. So go and flip this over to brown that. Our cheese is beginning to melt. You see that? Okay. And while that's browning, let me just show you and tell you a little bit what I'm adding to this. I'm going to add this quesadilla to actually another spinach salad, fresh spinach salad with tomatoes and orange bell peppers. Again, lots of vitamin A and C in there, and so we're kicking that up in our diet. And again, fresh spinach, a whole different flavor than cooked spinach. I'll have to be honest, I'm not a fan of cooked spinach, but I love fresh spinach. And so whenever you're preparing a salad, make sure you're choosing things like spinach or romaine lettuces that are dark in color, because the darker the color, the more nutrition. So that's just a kind of a tidbit. So when you're looking out for things to fix for your family, kind of color your plate is what we like to say. Flip that again, brown there. We're almost done. We're going to take this out and then we're going to cut this up. Okay, take that. I'm just going to put it right here to my cutting board. And you could use a simple knife to cut this, but a very easy technique that I have found, and again, if you're involving kids in the kitchen, they can help with this as well, is using a pizza cutter. And so we're just going to divide this into four halves here, 4 quarters, I guess you would say. Divide that. Okay. And then we're going to add this over to our plate. And if you wanted to, you could even take a little bit more of the salsa that you had left over, or if you have extra, you could take that and you could even add it to the side as a dipping sauce. Again, I drained that so you don't have all the juices there. It makes it a little easier to handle and a little easier in the recipe. So that's something that you could definitely add. Again, kick up that vegetable in your diet and kick up the nutrients as well. So there you have it. Very quick and easy meal with spinach quesadillas. Something that the entire family can enjoy, and for a little over $1 per serving, very economical choice as well. I hope that next time you're having a dinner dilemma that you'll turn to Texas AgriLife Extension Service for easy meal ideas that the entire family will enjoy. And also, you can check us out on our Facebook page. A very special thank you again to Gourmet Gallery in Waco, Texas for allowing us to use this great kitchen that feels like home.